Did you hear about the agent that got her own property assessment reduced by over $200,000? No? Well, let me tell you a little bit more. Of course, she is me. It's been an interesting year here in North Carolina with property values soaring. In North Carolina, counties are required to reassess their property values every 8 years. But many reassess every 4 years, and sometimes the state can impose their own requirements on when the reassessment happens. Reassessed tax values came out in Rockingham County earlier this year. I knew immediately something was wrong. Looking at social media, people in our community were frantic at the new values they were looking at. And yet, being in real estate myself, I knew some of those values were probably just more in line with what's happening in today's market, but some of them not. When I got my own value and saw the value was $200,000 or more over current market value of my home, I knew I needed to do something, not only for myself, but for everybody else in our community. Over the last several months, I have helped a number of individuals with their market values, researching, doing the work, putting in the effort to figure out where that true value should be. For some folks, the same was true for them that was true for me. Their property values were significantly inflated. So we worked hard to get them all the evidence they needed to submit to the county to get an appeal done and have a reevaluation. For myself, I had to go through that appeal process twice. The first informal appeal and then the second formal appeal. After the formal appeal, you can appeal again and go to the board, and then you can appeal again and go to the state. And I was fully prepared to do all four and to support anybody in the community that needed our assistance in going through that process as well. Why is this important? Well, our property values are pretty important. What we pay taxes on is pretty important. And if we're going to pay taxes on something, wouldn't we rather pay taxes on the correct value than the incorrect value? You know, going through this process, I actually got a lot of negative feedback. As many folks that were happy with me, that I was helping, that I was willing to support the community, that I was willing to step in at no charge and really just help people, right? There were also folks that were really upset because they didn't want to challenge their value. I guess they just want to pay more taxes than they need to. But for myself and another couple of folks in our community, these changes were drastic. We weren't talking about $5,000 or $10,000 overvalued. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars that was incorrect and overvalued. So why does this happen in the first place? Well, county assessors work on what they know about your home. What they know about your home might not be accurate for how your home was actually built or for what it looks like today. Over years, counties have worked on their systems to improve the data that they have, and many of us receive reevaluation notices, and unless something is wrong or hyperinflated, we don't really reach out to find out more or find out what's going on. We don't argue if you're charging us less, right? If our property value is declining, we don't step up and say, hey, something's wrong here, charge us more. We notice when something like this happens, when hyperinflation happens. So at the end of the day, what does that mean? What did we do? What was the impact of that? Well, from some of the folks I've heard that they've also got their property values down $10, $20, $60, $100,000. For a couple of folks like me, more than $100,000. That's a whole nother house, you guys. That's a whole nother house of tax value. Okay, $200,000 on one home. That's a whole nother home. Isn't that wild? So how did we do it, and why does it matter? And what do you need to do when this happens to you in the future? Well, we have a blog post going up on our website that you can take a look at. The best thing that you can do to really be aware of your own property value is to keep in touch with a great real estate agent like myself, someone who cares about their community, someone who will send you market value and information. We actually do this for every single one of our past clients every year. We mail out a letter that lets them know where their value is currently. That way they can keep a pulse on things. Of course, we can look at Zillow and we can look all around and find data as well, but accurate information about how your home stacks up that's not generated by an algorithm is pretty darn important. So that's step one. Step two, pay attention to those reevaluation notices when they come in the mail and don't feel like you don't have options. It's always great to consult with someone who knows the market, who understands the market, and your great local real estate agents, just like us here at the Overman Group, they're ready and willing to help because our community and our home values matter.